The quiet moments aboard the Intrepid were rare. The humans had survived battles, learned to wield the Queen's powers, and proved themselves against overwhelming odds. Yet Commander Elias Kane knew the ultimate test had not yet come. The Xylarian loyalists were still out there, their forces regrouping, their determination sharpened by pride and the desire to reclaim their queen. The Queen herself had changed subtly. No longer merely an observer, she had begun to share more of her powers, with the humans, though always carefully, always with guidance. She watched them closely, testing not just strength but character. Elias realized that this final stage would require trust, strategy, and complete mastery of the gifts they had received. One morning, the Queen requested a private audience with Elias. The chamber glowed softly with her energy, casting long shadows across the walls. "Commander," she began, "you have proven your species worthy in battle, in thought, and in restraint. But there is one more trial, a final decision that will define the future of your people." Elias met her gaze steadily. "What is required?" The Queen's eyes shimmered with intensity. "I will give you the chance to merge fully with my energy. The abilities I possess, control over matter, energy, and perception, can be shared completely. But the cost is significant. Complete understanding is required. You will face enemies, choices, and consequences that will test the very core of humanity's spirit. Do you have the discipline and courage to accept this?" Elias thought carefully. "Humanity has endured because we adapt, because we fight, with intelligence and courage, and because we never give up. We accept the trial." The Queen's luminous patterns softened, and she extended her energy outward. Elias felt it wash over him, a sensation unlike anything he had experienced. Every thought, every possibility, every strategy seemed clear. He could sense the movements of the ship, the presence of every crew member, even the distant positions of the Xylarian fleets. Yet the Queen's energy also demanded control, patience, and judgment. Misuse could be catastrophic. Under her guidance, Elias and the volunteers began the final training phase. Each human had to merge partially with the Queen's energy, learning not just to wield power but to integrate it with their minds and instincts. Mistakes could be dangerous, but every success strengthened their control and deepened their understanding. Lieutenant Mirasolis was the first to complete the trial fully. Her mind expanded, her reflexes and perception reaching heights previously unimaginable. She could anticipate threats before they occurred, manipulate energy with precise control, and coordinate the team in ways that felt almost telepathic. Yet, she remained grounded, disciplined, and aware of the responsibility her powers carried. The other volunteers followed, each learning to merge, each discovering the limits and possibilities of the Queen's gifts. The ship's crew was transformed, not just by power but by intelligence, strategy, and unity. Humanity had evolved beyond simple strength. They had become something far greater. Just as the final training concluded, sensors detected the largest Xylarian fleet yet. Hundreds of warships moving with terrifying coordination were heading straight for the system. Elias knew that this would be the ultimate confrontation. Every skill, every strategy, every ability would be tested. Failure was not an option. The humans prepared meticulously. Energy shields, enhanced reflexes, coordinated formations. Every advantage was utilized. Elias and the volunteers merged their powers seamlessly with the Queen's guidance, creating a force that combined human ingenuity with superhuman capability. The battle erupted with overwhelming intensity. Xylarian energy beams collided with human shields, explosions rocked the void, and debris floated like shards of glass in space. The humans moved with precision and coordination, anticipating attacks and countering with skill. Energy bursts, shields, and enhanced movements created a dance of strategy and power that the Xylarian forces could not predict. Solis and a team of volunteers moved through the battlefield with incredible speed, neutralizing threats and protecting critical points. They coordinated strikes that disrupted enemy formations, turning the Xylarians' own tactics against them. Every maneuver demonstrated not just power, but intelligence, creativity, and adaptability, the very qualities that had defined humanity. For millennia, The queen observed quietly, her patterns shimmering with approval. They fight not just with power but with mind and heart, she said. This speciesism is extraordinary. During the battle, Elias faced a critical moment. A massive Xylarian command ship aimed directly for the flagship, threatening to destroy the Queen's containment center. He felt the full weight of the Queen's energy within him guiding his decisions. With precise calculation, he directed the volunteers to create a combined energy barrier while coordinating a strike to disable the enemy ship. The maneuver succeeded flawlessly, and the command ship was neutralized. The remaining Xylarian forces, seeing their strategies fail and their numbers dwindling, began to retreat. The humans had won, not just through power but through intelligence, discipline, and unity. The fleet was shattered and the loyalists' morale broken. Humanity had survived the ultimate test. After the battle, the Queen approached Elias and the volunteers. Her luminous patterns glimmered with a mixture of pride and approval. You have endured trials that would have destroyed lesser species. You have wielded power responsibly, fought with courage, and proven the value of intelligence and unity. You are worthy of true alliance. Elias nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. We have survived because we adapt, because we work together, and because we never give up. That is the essence of humanity. The Queen extended her energy fully, merging it with the humans completely. For the first time, they felt the full extent of her powers, not as a tool, but as a shared force. They could perceive the movements of distant fleets, manipulate energy on a vast scale, and coordinate with precision beyond imagination. Yet more importantly, they remained human, grounded, disciplined, and wise in their use of power. With the Xylarian fleet in retreat and humanity's newfound abilities fully integrated, the stage was set for a new era. The Queen, once a prisoner, now stood as an ally. Her respect for humanity deepened by every challenge they had overcome together. Elias addressed the crew. Today we have not only survived, we have proven that humanity's spirit, intelligence, and courage can overcome any challenge. We have mastered powers beyond our understanding, and yet we remain human. This is our strength. This is what makes us endure. The volunteers, now fully merged with the Queen's energy, nodded in unison. They had faced impossible odds, mastered incredible abilities, and proven the value of discipline, strategy, and unity. Humanity had emerged stronger, wiser, and ready to shape the galaxy alongside their new ally. The Queen spoke, her voice resonating through the ship. Humans, you have exceeded my expectations. You are not only worthy of power, you are worthy of trust, of alliance, and of partnership. Together we can shape the future of the galaxy. Elias allowed himself a rare smile. Then we move forward together. Not as conquerors, not as subjects, but as partners. Humanity endures, and with wisdom and courage, we will thrive. As the stars stretched endlessly beyond the ship, humanity's place in the galaxy had changed forever. They had survived capture, harnessed incredible powers, defeated overwhelming enemies, and proven that intelligence, courage, and unity could triumph where strength alone could not. And the Queen, once a captor, now an ally, recognized the truth that humans had long known. Their greatest power was not the abilities they wielded, but the spirit, ingenuity, and determination that defined them. Together, humans and the Queen stood ready to face whatever the galaxy might bring. Their alliance marked the dawn of a new era, one where humanity, through discipline, intelligence, and courage, could rise above any challenge, reshape destiny, and leave an indelible mark upon the stars. The journey had been perilous, the trials intense, and the challenges extraordinary. Yet in the end, humanity had prevailed, not by power alone, but by the qualities that had always made them resilient, their minds, their hearts, and their unwavering spirit. The galaxy watched, and humanity stood unshaken, ready to embrace the future with courage, wisdom, and the remarkable potential that only they could achieve. The sky above the war-torn planet was a sickly green, streaked with ash and smoke from the constant battles. Explosions rippled across the horizon, shaking the ground beneath the feet of anyone daring to move outside. Alien warships roared overhead, their shadows falling across craters where the fighting never seemed to end. Among the chaos, one human soldier moved like a ghost, weaving between fallen warriors and destroyed vehicles with careful precision. His armor was scratched and dented, and a faint trickle of blood ran down his cheek, but his eyes remained steady, scanning for threats. Across the battlefield, an alien warrior observed him. She was tall, muscular, and covered in sleek armor that shimmered with strange energy. Her people had trained her for one purpose: victory. Her reputation alone struck fear into entire squadrons, and she had never known hesitation in her life. Today, though, something felt different. From the moment she had spotted the human moving calmly through the chaos, something in her had shifted. The human paused for a brief moment behind the wreckage of a burned-out transport vehicle. His hand reached for a small device strapped to his chest, pressing a button. A pulse of energy shot out, temporarily blinding the alien soldiers nearby. She watched in disbelief as he continued forward, seemingly untouched by the attack he had just launched. His courage was unmatched. She had faced hundreds of opponents in her life, but none had moved with such calm and precision in the heart of danger. As she stepped forward, her instincts screamed at her. She had to strike him down. She had to end him. But as she ran toward him, her hand grazed a jagged piece of metal sticking from his armor. A tiny cut opened on her palm. The sharp sting surprised her, and without thinking, she brought her fingers to her lips to wipe the blood. The moment her tongue touched the metallic taste, a wave of sensation rolled through her. Her knees wobbled slightly, and she almost fell to the ground. The human noticed her faltering but did not take advantage of it. He had seen fear in the eyes of many enemies before, but what he saw now was confusion, awe, and something else he could not name. She whispered softly, almost to herself, "You're my end, human." The words hung in the air, strange and powerful. She had no idea why she had said them. She did not know what it meant, only that the feeling it carried was too strong to ignore. For the first time in her life, her training felt irrelevant. Her purpose, her loyalty, and her pride, all of it seemed to melt into something she could not understand. The battlefield screamed around her, but she no longer felt the need to fight. Instead, she turned and ran, her mind racing with questions she had no answers for. Why did his blood feel different? Why did it make her heart pound and her thoughts scatter? Why, of all the soldiers she had fought, did he affect her this way? The human watched her flee. He had been trained to survive, to fight, and to think strategically under pressure. Yet, he was not prepared for this. He did not know why the alien warrior had retreated. He did not understand the strange pull he felt, as if a chain had connected them in that brief moment of contact. He had survived countless battles, but this was the first time he had met someone, or something, whose presence unsettled him so completely. He did not follow her. He could not. His orders were clear, and the battlefield offered no mercy for disobedience. Instead, he gathered his strength, tending to his minor wounds, while scanning the horizon for his squad. He had no idea that the alien warrior would think of him constantly, haunted by a sensation she could not explain. Later, in a hidden cave away from the fighting, she sat alone. Her armor had been damaged in the chaos, and she had removed her gauntlets to examine the cut on her hand. The memory of tasting the human's blood returned again and again, each time stronger than before. She could feel her pulse quicken, her breath catching in ways that made no sense. She clenched her fists, trying to regain control, but the feeling persisted. She had been trained to suppress emotion, to focus on logic and strategy. Yet logic offered no explanation for the storm raging within her. She remembered his eyes, calm, steady, unyielding. They had held neither fear nor hatred, only clarity and determination. And now, somewhere deep inside, she knew she wanted to see him again. She wanted to understand this connection, even if it meant betraying every instinct she had been taught. She had never questioned her duty before, never hesitated in a fight, never feared anyone. but he had changed something inside her. Meanwhile, the human returned to his temporary command post, unaware of the impact he had made. He recounted the events of the battle to his superiors, speaking calmly of strategy, losses, and objectives. Yet even he could not shake the memory of her eyes. They had been full of strength, pride, and something unspoken. He felt a strange curiosity about her, a sense that their paths were not meant to cross just once. Something told him that their meeting had been more than coincidence. As night fell over the battlefield, both human and alien found themselves thinking of each other. She could not sleep, her mind replaying the moment she had tasted his blood, whispering the words that had startled her so deeply. He too found it difficult to rest, haunted by a sense that someone, or something, was watching over him, yet not as an enemy. Days passed, but the memory persisted. She began to watch for him from a distance, studying his movements, his courage, and his decisions. The more she observed, the more she realized that this human was different. Unlike other humans she had fought, he did not rely solely on weapons or strength. He relied on ingenuity, strategy, and a calm mind even in chaos. He was dangerous, yes, but in a way she admired secretly. Finally, the alien warrior made a decision. She could no longer remain on the sidelines, forced to fight without understanding. She would find him. She would see him again, not as an enemy, but as something else entirely. She did not know whether it was curiosity, respect, or a deeper instinct awakened by his blood, but she could not ignore it. Unbeknownst to her, the human had also begun to plan. He sensed that she was more than just another opponent. Something about her behavior, her skill, and her presence indicated a complexity beyond the ordinary. He had survived countless battles and encountered many alien species, yet none had unsettled him in the way she did. The universe was vast, dangerous, and unpredictable, yet somehow, their paths had crossed in a way neither could explain. The spark had been lit in the heat of battle, a spark that promised to change both of their lives forever. And as the stars above the ruined planet blinked coldly, neither human nor alien could foresee the journey that awaited them, one that would challenge their loyalties, test their courage, and force them to confront emotions they had never known. Tiu, alien warrior, stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking the battlefield. The smoke from the fighting drifted past her, and she clenched her fists, tasting again the memory of his blood. Her voice trembled as she whispered to the empty sky, "You're my end, human." This time she understood a little more of what it meant. It was not just a threat, it was a revelation. She did not know if it was destiny, chance, or something deeper that had brought them together. But she knew one thing for certain. The human warrior had changed her, and nothing in her life would ever be the same again. And somewhere far below, in the ruins and ashes of the battlefield, the human prepared for the next mission, unaware that the very fate of his own life had already been bound to a warrior he had only just met. The night deepened, and a quiet tension hung over the planet. Two beings from different worlds and with different purposes had unknowingly begun a story that would ripple across the galaxy. One drop of blood had been enough to awaken something powerful, something neither fully understood. Something that would set the stage for battles, alliances, and revelations beyond imagination. The universe was waiting, and so were they. Days passed since the battle on the ruined planet, yet the memory of that moment lingered in the minds of both the human and the alien warrior. The green skies and shattered terrain had become a quiet reminder of the encounter that neither could ignore. The alien warrior returned to her people's capital, a sprawling fortress of steel and light that gleamed even in the dim haze of war. Her superiors had expected her to return triumphant, to report the elimination of the human soldier, but she had no victory to claim. She avoided their questions, speaking only of minor skirmishes and the retreat of scattered enemy forces. Every word she said was measured, hiding the turmoil within. Her mind replayed the moment again and again, the taste of his blood, the calm in his eyes, and the strange feeling it left in her chest. It was unlike anything she had ever experienced. Her people were proud and strong, trained to suppress emotion in favor of strategy and loyalty. Yet now she found herself thinking about the human soldier constantly, wondering how a being so small and fragile could evoke such a powerful reaction in her. She began to watch him from afar, using all the resources her position allowed. Scouts reported his movements across different battlefields, describing his courage and cunning. He was not only surviving, he was thriving, saving others even when it put himself in danger. His bravery was matched by a calm mind, a clarity of thought that allowed him to adapt to situations that would have killed ordinary soldiers. The alien warrior found herself intrigued and frustrated in equal measure. Her instincts demanded that she strike, to test his strength, to measure herself against him. Yet another part of her, one she had never recognized before, wanted to understand him, to study him quietly, almost like an observer more than an opponent. On the human side, he sensed something unusual. Reports from scouts indicated that the alien warrior had been seen near him on more than one occasion, but she had never attacked directly. Her presence was like a shadow at the edge of every conflict he faced. He did not understand it, but he noticed that her actions often prevented disaster. Civilians escaped harm, ambushes failed, and he survived dangers that should have ended him, all without her direct interference. He began to suspect that this warrior was different from others he had fought. She was not driven purely by victory or conquest. There was calculation, restraint, and perhaps curiosity. A strange connection seemed to link them, though he could not explain why. Curiosity grew stronger on both sides. The alien warrior found herself seeking opportunities to observe him in person. She followed him discreetly, never close enough to be noticed, but always near enough to see his decisions and actions. Each encounter confirmed what she had felt the first time she tasted his blood. He was extraordinary. His bravery was not reckless. It was deliberate. His decisions saved lives, not just his own. One evening, during a raid on a small village caught in the crossfire of the ongoing war, she moved closer than ever. The human had already arrived, defending civilians from raiding alien troops. She watched as he directed the villagers to safety, used clever traps to disarm attackers, and even improvised with limited resources to protect the injured. Her admiration grew, but it was accompanied by confusion. She had been trained to respect strength, but this human strength was not only in his skill but in his mind. He faced danger with calm precision, never panicking, never underestimating anyone. It was unlike anything she had seen among her own people. As the battle raged, she accidentally brushed against a shard of broken metal, slicing her palm again. Blood mixed with sweat, and instinctively she touched it to her lips. The memory of his blood surged within her, stronger this time, and she staggered back slightly. She whispered, almost in disbelief, "You're my end, human." This time, the words carried a new weight. She realized it was not only fear or surprise, it was admiration, fascination, and something primal she could not name. The human soldier glanced in her direction briefly, sensing her presence even without seeing her. His intuition, honed over years of fighting, told him that this warrior was not like the others. She was formidable, unpredictable, and dangerous, but she was also observing, almost as if studying him. After the battle, when the dust settled and the villagers were safe, she retreated into the shadows. She found a secluded cave to rest, her mind racing. She touched the cut on her palm, thinking about the human. She realized she was not just curious. She was drawn to him in ways she could not explain. Every instinct screamed to understand him, to see him again, even if it meant risking her life or defying her people. Meanwhile, the human returned to his temporary base. He tended to the wounded, organized supplies, and planned for the next engagement. Yet his thoughts kept returning to the alien warrior. He remembered the power in her movements, the precision of her attacks, and the strength that radiated from her presence. He did not understand why she had not killed him, why she lingered on the edge of his awareness. Both of them were caught in a silent struggle. She could not fully control her fascination, and he could not fully ignore the feeling of connection. The universe around them was dangerous, filled with enemies, betrayals, and uncertainty. Yet a bond had begun to form that neither could deny. The alien warrior began to study him more methodically. She learned his tactics, his patterns, and even his personality through observation. She saw that he was compassionate, clever, and unwavering in the face of danger. She realized that his strength was not only physical but also moral and mental. Humans, she concluded, had a resilience and ingenuity that her people often underestimated. Her fascination began to influence her decisions. During skirmishes, she found herself holding back at moments when she could have struck decisively. She even took subtle actions to protect him without revealing herself. At first, it was instinct, but then it became deliberate. She did not understand why she risked herself for a human soldier, yet she could not ignore the impulse. The human, unaware of her direct interference, noticed strange patterns. He survived encounters that should have ended badly. Civilians, he helped survive attacks that were too well coordinated to be coincidental. He began to suspect that the alien warrior was intervening in some way, though he could not determine her motives. One night, under the faint glow of twin moons, the human and the alien warrior came closer than ever. She observed him from a ridge overlooking a strategic outpost. He moved calmly, organizing defenses, guiding civilians, and preparing for an impending attack. Her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. She admired him, feared him, and felt a connection she could not name. She wanted to descend and speak, to understand him, yet every instinct told her to stay hidden. For the human, the feeling of being watched was undeniable. He paused, scanning the ridge, but saw no one. Still he felt her presence, a tension in the air, a subtle energy that told him she was near. He did not panic. Instead, he sensed that this being was not hostile, at least not entirely. There was intelligence, curiosity, and perhaps even admiration in the way she moved through the shadows. Days turned into a week, and both human and alien were bound by this unspoken connection. They fought battles on opposite sides, but were linked by something more profound than fear or hatred. Each encounter, each observation, deepened their understanding of one another. She saw his bravery, cleverness, and humanity. He sensed her skill, strength, and a complexity beyond her warrior facade. The alien warrior began to question her loyalty. She had trained for a lifetime to serve her people, to fight and conquer without hesitation. Yet her thoughts were now consumed by a single human soldier. She wondered if this connection was dangerous, unnatural, or even forbidden. Every instinct in her body told her to fight, to strike, to eliminate threats. Yet this human had awakened something in her she could not suppress. For the human, the connection was equally perplexing. He had faced alien warriors before, but none had affected him so deeply. He could not understand why she had not killed him, why she lingered on the edges of his awareness, and why her presence seemed to influence events around him. He began to consider that humans were underestimated in the galaxy, that their resilience, ingenuity, and courage could inspire even the fiercest alien warriors. Finally, the alien warrior made a decision. She would not confront him directly, not yet. She would continue to observe, to learn, and to understand this connection. She would test her own feelings, determine the source of this fascination, and explore what it meant for her loyalty, her purpose, and her life. The human, too, resolved to prepare for whatever was coming. He had survived countless battles through skill and determination, but now he faced something more complex, a being who could not be easily categorized as enemy or ally, friend or foe. He knew that their paths would cross again, and that when they did, the outcome could change everything. As the twin moons cast a silver glow over the battlefield, both human and alien prepared in their own ways. One sought understanding, the other sought readiness. The universe around them was still dangerous, unpredictable, and violent, yet a spark had been ignited. That spark, born from courage, blood, and curiosity, would continue to grow. Neither knew how the story would unfold, but both felt its weight. The alien warrior's fascination deepened, her thoughts revolving around the human. So the galaxy was restless. Battles had raged for years, with countless planets caught in the struggle between alien empires and the human forces scattered across distant systems. Yet even amid this chaos, an unexpected alliance was beginning to take shape. Born from curiosity, courage, and a spark neither the human nor the alien warrior could fully understand. The alien warrior had been following him for weeks now, observing his decisions and actions. She had seen his brilliance in strategy, his courage in combat, and his compassion for the innocent. Each encounter reinforced her fascination, yet she remained hidden, uncertain of what to do with these new feelings. She knew her loyalty to her people demanded one course of action: attack, eliminate, conquer. But something about this human was different. He inspired awe rather than fear. He moved with a clarity she had never seen, and she felt drawn to him in ways that defied every lesson she had learned. The human soldier, too, sensed something extraordinary in her presence. Though they had never spoken, he could feel her near him during battles. Her movements were precise, calculated, but there was restraint, a deliberate choice not to harm him. He did not understand why she spared him, why she lingered on the edges of his awareness, or why he felt a strange connection to her. It began on a ruined world, one where both human and alien forces had been drawn by reports of a monstrous alien species threatening to destroy everyone. The reports described creatures of immense size and intelligence, capable of overwhelming entire battalions in a matter of hours. The human had been sent with a small unit to investigate and contain the threat. The alien warrior had also been dispatched to assess and eliminate the same danger. As the human moved cautiously through the ruined cityscape, he noticed signs of the creature's presence: massive footprints, shattered buildings, and the eerie silence that followed every attack. He was preparing a plan to trap and contain the monsters when he heard the sound of combat nearby. Following the noise, he found himself in a narrow alley facing one of the creatures. It was enormous, with scaly limbs, glowing eyes, and jaws that could crush steel. He fired his weapons carefully, striking weak points he had observed, but it was not enough. At that moment, the alien warrior appeared from above, dropping down from a crumbling rooftop with the grace and precision of a predator. She struck the creature with ferocious strength, her energy blades slicing through its defenses. Together, human and alien fought as an unspoken team, their movements complementing each other with uncanny synchronicity. She did not speak, yet he understood her actions perfectly, reacting with equal precision. After the battle, they stood over the defeated creature, breathing heavily. The alien warrior's hand brushed against the human's as she retrieved her weapon. She froze, feeling the sudden reminder of his blood, the same connection that had shaken her weeks before. She whispered to herself, barely audible, "You're my end, human." The words trembled with awe and fear, a mixture of respect and fascination. The human noticed her hesitation but did not question it. He had faced countless enemies and allies alike, yet something about her presence felt different. She was not only powerful but deliberate, intelligent, and restrained. Her strength was unmatched, yet it was tempered with careful thought. He realized that her people had trained her to be a perfect warrior, yet she moved with a humanity he did not expect. Days turned into weeks as they continued to operate in the same war zone. Their encounters were no longer accidental. The alien warrior began to protect him in subtle ways, diverting attacks, clearing paths, and ensuring he survived when others would have fallen. At first it was instinct, then it became deliberate. She could not explain why she risked her life for a human soldier, but the pull was undeniable. The human, sensing these interventions, began to consider the possibility of an ally he had never expected. He realized that humans were often underestimated by other species, and this warrior's actions were proof that even the most powerful aliens could respect courage, intelligence, and moral strength. He began to adjust his tactics, taking advantage of her restraint while remaining cautious, understanding that their fates were becoming intertwined. One night, they were forced to take refuge in the ruins of an old fortress. The creatures had withdrawn temporarily, leaving a tense silence. The alien warrior crouched near the entrance, scanning for threats, while the human worked to reinforce their position. For a moment their eyes met, and a silent understanding passed between them. They were no longer just soldier and observer. They were partners, bound by circumstance, skill, and a strange, unspoken connection. She could not resist any longer. She approached him cautiously, keeping her hands visible to show she meant no harm. "Why do you fight so calmly?" she asked softly, her voice carrying an accent unfamiliar to human ears. "Even when death surrounds you, you move without fear." The human looked up, surprised to hear her speak. "I fight to survive and to protect others," he replied. "Fear is natural, but letting it control you is worse. You saved my life back there." "Why?" His words were careful, not accusatory, but filled with curiosity. The alien warrior hesitated, her mind racing. She had no answer that made sense to her people. She had acted on instinct, on a pull she could not explain. I do not know," she admitted finally. "There is something different about you. Something that unsettles me." He studied her closely, noticing the tension in her stance, the way her eyes flickered with uncertainty. He did not fully understand the bond they shared, but he felt it too, a connection forged in battle, in blood, and in the unspoken recognition of each other's strength. "Perhaps humans are not what you expected," he said quietly. Her lips twitched in the ghost of a smile. "Perhaps you are stronger than any I have faced," she said. "But not only in battle. There is something in you, something that calls to me." They sat in silence for hours, listening to the distant echoes of war. Each was aware of the other, yet neither fully understood the feelings that had begun to grow. They were linked in ways that defied logic, driven by courage, curiosity, and the spark ignited by that first drop of blood. The following days brought more battles, each one pushing them closer together. They learned to anticipate each other's moves, to cover weaknesses, and to fight as a single, unstoppable force. Civilians survived attacks that would have destroyed entire settlements. Enemy soldiers fell to strategies they could not predict. The humans' ingenuity and bravery combined with the alien warrior's strength and precision created a force unlike any other. Yet danger loomed larger than ever. The monstrous alien species they had first encountered was only the beginning. Intelligence reports indicated a coalition of alien warlords preparing to wipe out human forces in the sector. The alien warrior realized that to survive, they would need to work together more closely than ever. Her loyalty to her people conflicted with her growing bond with the human soldier, creating an internal struggle she could not ignore. One evening, as they rested in the wreckage of an abandoned city, the alien warrior removed her gauntlets, examining the small cuts from recent battles. She could feel the lingering memory of his blood stronger than before. Her pulse quickened and she whispered softly, "You're my end, human." This time, the words carried more than fear. They carried respect, fascination, and a dawning realization that he had become something she could not fight against. The human noticed her trembling but chose not to comment. He had faced many situations where emotions ran high, and he understood the complexity of warriors who had lived for battle alone. He simply nodded, acknowledging her presence and the unspoken understanding between them. They were partners now, in ways neither could fully articulate, yet the connection was undeniable. As night fell over the war-torn city, the alien warrior and the human soldier prepared for the battles ahead. They would face enemies that neither could defeat alone, relying on courage, ingenuity, and the strange bond that had begun in the heat of their first encounter. Each knew the stakes were high, yet both felt a new sense of purpose. The alien warrior, once defined solely by loyalty to her people and strength in combat, now questioned everything she had been taught. The human, once a solitary soldier surviving by skill and determination, now realized that humanity's greatest strength was more than courage. It was connection, empathy, and the ability to inspire even the fiercest of foes. In the shadows, Of the ruined city, two beings from different worlds had become more than soldier and observer. They were allies, partners, and something deeper that neither fully understood. The universe around them remained dangerous and unpredictable, but together they were stronger than anything that threatened them. And in the quiet moments, when the fires of battle dimmed and the stars shone overhead, they remembered the first drop of blood, the whispered words, and the spark that had brought them together. They knew that whatever came next, their paths were now linked in ways that could change the course of the galaxy itself. The alien warrior's heart, once hardened by duty and battle, now beat with a new purpose. The human soldier, guided by courage and clarity, now faced not only enemies in the galaxy but a bond that could redefine what it meant to fight, to survive, and to live. The universe was vast, full of dangers, but also full of possibility. And Tuggy, the galaxy was changing. The human soldier and the alien warrior had fought side by side for weeks now, saving lives, defeating monstrous creatures, and outmaneuvering enemy forces that sought to destroy everything in their path. Their bond had grown stronger, silent but unbreakable, yet danger loomed closer than ever. The alien warrior stood at the edge of a cliff overlooking a ravaged battlefield. Smoke rose from craters where cities had once stood, and the faint glow of fires lit the horizon. Her mind raced, torn between loyalty to her people and the connection she felt with the human soldier. For centuries, her kind had valued strength above all else, obedience to orders above compassion, and yet here she was, questioning everything she had been taught. She thought of him often, the way he moved in battle with calm precision, the courage he displayed when others would have fled, the way he cared for innocence even in the middle of chaos. Every moment with him had been a revelation, every interaction a challenge to her beliefs. She had once thought that power alone defined a warrior, but he had shown her a different kind of strength, one that came from resilience, intellect, and humanity. Her superiors were unaware of her conflicted loyalties. Reports of her actions had been vague, hinting at hesitancy or unusual decisions, but no one could predict the full truth. She had begun to question the orders of her leaders. Was loyalty worth everything if it meant ignoring what her instincts now told her? Could she continue to follow commands when the human soldier, whose life had become intertwined with hers, was threatened by those very orders? The human soldier, unaware of the full depth of her struggle, prepared for the next engagement. Intelligence. Reports warned of an approaching alien fleet intent on crushing all human forces in the sector. The odds were overwhelmingly against them. Yet he remained calm, analyzing the information, planning every step with meticulous care. Courage alone would not win this battle. Strategy, adaptability, and trust in allies would be essential. There, paths converged once more on a barren moon, where enemy forces had established a forward base. The human and his unit moved cautiously, using the terrain for cover. The alien warrior followed from a distance, unseen but ready to intervene if needed. As they approached the base, the human noticed subtle movements, traps, ambush positions, and signs of enemy patrols. He paused, studying the area carefully, and instinctively adjusted his approach. He could sense someone watching him, but this time he did not fear it. There was a presence, strong and precise, but also familiar. When the first wave of enemy forces attacked, the alien warrior struck from the shadows. Her energy blades cut through the ranks with deadly accuracy, but she avoided harming the human or his squad. They moved as one, seamlessly coordinating without words, a perfect combination of human ingenuity and alien power. Civilians trapped near the base were guided to safety by the human, while the alien warrior neutralized threats efficiently. Together they turned a near-impossible situation into a controlled victory. After the skirmish, they regrouped in a ruined observation tower. The human checked his squad for injuries while she remained on the perimeter, scanning for any remaining threats. For the first time, she allowed herself to speak openly. "You are unlike any I have ever faced," she said, her voice calm, but edged with intensity. "Your courage, your mind, your decisions, they defy everything I have been taught to respect." He looked at her thoughtfully. "And you," he said, "are unlike any I have fought. You could have destroyed us at any moment, yet you chose not to. Why?" She hesitated, unsure how to answer. Every explanation seemed inadequate. I do not know," she admitted. "There is something in you, something that calls to me. I cannot explain it, and I cannot ignore it." Her gaze flickered, a mixture of vulnerability and strength. "It is not weakness that binds me to you, human. It is respect, fascination, and perhaps more than I dare admit." The human studied her, sensing the truth behind her words. He had survived countless battles, yet he had never encountered someone like her, someone who could challenge him, inspire him, and unsettle him all at once. He nodded slowly. "Then we face this together," he said. "Whatever comes next, we rely on each other." The alien warrior considered his words. She had spent her life fighting alone, trusting only in her skill and her people. Yet now she realized that connection, trust, and cooperation could be more powerful than any weapon. She felt a weight lift, a clarity she had never known. Together they were stronger than either could be alone. Days passed and the alliance grew. They fought larger battles, each one more dangerous than the last. The alien warrior protected him in subtle ways, diverting attacks, clearing paths, and even taking risks she would never have considered before. The human adapted, learning to anticipate her actions and integrate them into his strategies. Civilians were saved, enemy forces defeated, and the bond between them deepened with each encounter. But their success did not go unnoticed. Her people began to question her actions, sending envoys to demand explanations. She faced the possibility of punishment, even exile, for defying orders and aiding a human. The human, sensing the increasing danger, prepared for the worst, knowing that their alliance might be tested in ways neither could anticipate. One evening, as they rested in the ruins of a former city, the alien warrior spoke again. "My people will not forgive this," she said softly. "They see humans as weak, inferior. Yet I have seen your strength. You are more than they could imagine." The human placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Then we prove it," he said. "Not just to them, but to ourselves. Courage, ingenuity, and trust, these are our weapons now. Together we can face anything." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of distant fires. She could see the truth in his words, feel it in his presence, and for the first time she allowed herself to believe in something beyond duty and loyalty. She was no longer just a warrior following orders. She was a partner, an ally, and something more, bound to a human who had awakened feelings she could not control. The next mission brought them to the heart of enemy territory. Reports indicated that a coalition of alien warlords planned to launch a massive attack on human settlements across the sector. The stakes were higher than ever, and failure would mean not only defeat, but devastation for countless lives. As they approached the target, the alien warrior felt a strange mixture of fear and anticipation. She had never questioned her abilities before, never doubted her skill or judgment. Yet now, facing overwhelming odds and the possibility of betrayal from her own people, she felt vulnerable in a way she had never known. The human sensed it too, offering quiet reassurance through his calm demeanor and strategic insight. The battle that followed was intense and relentless. Enemy forces outnumbered them, yet human ingenuity and alien precision combined to create a force that was unpredictable and effective. The human directed civilians to safety while devising traps and diversions to weaken the enemy. The alien warrior struck with unmatched skill, neutralizing threats and protecting him whenever danger loomed too close. At one point, during a particularly fierce engagement, she was injured while saving him from an unexpected attack. Blood dripped from a cut on her arm, and instinctively she touched it to her lips. The memory of his blood surged in her mind, stronger than ever, and she whispered, the words that had haunted her since their first encounter, "You're my end, human." This time the human understood. He saw the truth behind her actions, the strength of her feelings and the bond that had formed between them. He did not recoil or hesitate. He simply reached out, placing a hand over hers. "And I would face it willingly," he said quietly. "Whatever comes, we face it together." The alien warrior felt a surge of emotion she could not name. Fear, respect, fascination, and something deeper all mingled within her. She had never experienced anything like it, and yet she knew it was real. The human was not just a soldier, not just a warrior. He was a force of nature, and together they were unstoppable. After the battle, they retreated to a hidden outpost to recover. The alien warrior tended to her injuries, her mind still racing, with questions about loyalty, duty, and the connection she felt. The human helped her, not out of obligation, but out of respect and trust. They spoke little, letting actions convey what words could not, yet each understood the other completely. The galaxy outside remained dangerous, with enemies lurking at every corner. Yet within the walls of the outpost, a fragile sense of safety and trust had taken hold. The alien warrior realized that her life had changed irreversibly. She could no longer return to the rigid structure of her people, nor could she ignore the bond that had formed with the human soldier. She had a choice to make: remain loyal to her people or embrace the connection that had awakened something she could not deny. The human, too, faced a choice: continue to fight alone, relying solely on skill and determination, or trust in a bond that transcended species, logic, and expectation. The next morning, as sunlight filtered through the ruins, they prepared for what would surely be the most dangerous mission yet. Enemy forces were consolidating, planning an attack that could devastate entire systems. The alien warrior and the human soldier knew that success depended on trust, courage, and their unique. As they moved toward the battlefield,